School District School Board meeting for Monday, November 14th, 2022 to order. We will note public access to meeting, that we are open for people to attend our meetings in person. However, we also are live streaming. So anyone in the community who is more comfortable watching the meeting from home, you do have that option to do so. We will move into item 2, which is our meeting opening and roll call, and I will have Carlin do our roll call and verification of quorum.
Mr. Ebel.
Here.
Ms. Bushman.
Here.
Mr. Pope.
Here.
Ms. Portson.
Here.
Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Robbie.
Here.
Ms. Rano.
Here.
Ms. Erler.
Here.
And Mr. Wade is excused.
We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move into item 4, which are public comments. We are allowing email comments and also in-person comments. Did we receive any email comments?
No email
Carlin?
comments received.
Okay, all right. So we have one person who has signed up, and that is Carol Colby, and she is speaking on Agenda 5B. And if you could just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, thank you. Carol Colby, 27 Hazelwood Drive, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. American Education Week. So tonight I speak to you as president of SPARTA, which is the Stevens Point Area Retired Teachers Association. Our local organization would like to express gratitude to all who are involved with public education. It is a system that is essential. As retired educators, we remember how wonderfully rewarding it was to work with students. And we are excited about the future of public education, and we offer our support in any way possible. Congratulations and thanks to all staff, parents, the community, and most importantly, our students as we celebrate American education, not only this week, but all year long. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
All right. Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to speak? Seeing none, I will move into item 5, which are our presentations. Our student representative was unable to be here with us this evening, so she will be at next month's meeting. So we will move to the communication report. Sarah O'Donnell.
Hello. The communication dashboard was included in your packet. A few pieces I'd like to note for you. The significant spike we saw in media coverage, both REACH and AVE, was mostly due to the swatting situation that we had at SPASH that really encompassed all of Wisconsin. So that received a lot of national attention, which brought our name up into those pieces. So that's where you can see that significant spike there. We also saw jumps on all channels except for Instagram in both impressions and engagement. District was up 41% and 3.19% for engagement, specifically month over month. We also continue to see good engagement on our internal communications, both the district source and the key communicator. We saw click rates of 37% on the district source and 32% on the key communicator, which continue to be significantly up from what we saw last year. So really excited to see that. A few updates on our web and communication tools since the final site acquisition of Blackboard. We're continuing to look at our options. It's looking like we will need to move somewhere. We don't know if that will be final site or somewhere else. So I've been working closely with technology, kind of going through and vetting some of those different options. Our mass communication tools, we're told, will not be sunsetted, which is good news, but we feel that if we're going to go out and take a look at web, we might as well look at everything. So again, that project is kind of on hold, but moving forward in a different direction. So just want to make sure you're updated with that. And then I think I have other notes here. I'm just looking. Oh, we're continuing to work on just trying some test and learn on different channels with different mediums. So trying a little bit more video here and there, trying a little bit more like different tones on different channels. So some of the stuff we'll continue to see, and some of the stuff I'll probably try it and then back off. So if you're seeing those things and find those things are getting engagement, I appreciate any and all feedback that you can give me. Sometimes different folks see different things. One thing we did learn, print has become extraordinarily expensive. So we had planned for 2 print newsletters to go, and it frankly is just not, I can't responsibly say that I feel like we need to do that right now. So we're really looking more at that e-newsletter piece, knowing that we are missing folks that are not engaging through those channels. So that may be something that we may be coming to you with different information moving forward. But just so you know, I did have that in our communication plan for this year. And after getting those numbers and really looking, it just does not make financial sense at this point. So with that, I will take any questions.
Sorry, I just wanted to make note, and I'm not sure if it was WPR or NPR, but they had a discussion about that threat that came to us from at SPASH and all over. And when they were talking about it, they said they were trying to do all different ways of identifying where it came from. And they were very, I guess, surprised. A lot of them showed they were coming from out of the country, some from Russia, some from, I can't remember if they said Thailand or China or whatever, but they said the minute they would find something, they would change the, whatever, the address and that. And
Yeah,
but
I know, like, on our level, everything that happened here was handed over to FBI and DOJ. Dr. Casey was able to get some really good information and updates on that I don't believe we're allowed to share. But knowing that they were not local threats.
No.
It was not someone in our area or in Wisconsin or likely
right.
in the United States.
It was really interesting, though, how, the research that they did, they were on it right away, but they were just, they couldn't believe how far away it had started
Yeah.
from. So.
And really detrimental, right? Very traumatic for staff, traumatic for students, difficult on systems. So we're hoping that we do not continue to see those types of
That
things
would be
happening.
great.
So,
Thanks, sir.
So in terms of those the communication where we're saying, we won't be looking at a physical paper copy, I know clearly through COVID and as we move forward, we as the district have worked very hard technology to ensure that all of our families, to the extent we're able to, are provided with access to the web and provided with computer devices so that they are able to access. Do we have a sense of what percentage of families, even with all of those efforts?
So when I'm concerned
access?
about print material, I'm not concerned about accessing families. I do feel like we've done a very good job. Schools are very aware of who needs those on a case-by-case basis, although tech has worked very hard if families don't have access. We have a number of avenues to help and support them. What I was looking at doing was more blanket. So every community member, every household within like our zip codes and served municipalities to receive information for those that aren't, right, you don't have a kid in school or you don't have a grandkid in school or you aren't paying attention, so that those folks could get those good stories in that way. But again, that cost is just too high. There is a possibility we could go back and look at a different piece. So maybe not a full newsletter, maybe not a full newsletter with an insert, maybe it's a postcard, maybe it's, something different. Knowing that we want to make sure that we are finding ways to keep those folks engaged while balancing a very tight budget.
I appreciate the pivot, just recognizing that, the costs, the benefits don't outweigh the costs.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Sarah? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, we will move into item B, which is the superintendent's report. Corey Hirschbrenner.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to mention was it's American Education Week, and Carol said it very eloquently. We thank our staff for their diligence with students each and every day. We thank families for sharing their children with us, and students are just a pleasure to be back in our buildings in a more normal environment this year. So happy Education Week to everyone. Next, I wanted to talk about holiday break. Next week, I can't believe, is Thanksgiving already. So we will be out of school on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So students will have off those 3 days next week. Next is we have a national FFA winner. I'm going to show you a short little clip, very short little clip, and then I'm going to talk just a little bit about Claire and the project that she won. I'm going to do this a different way.
We got some feedback from someone.
It is. I'm going to try to share my screen this way.
There's nothing more
it
pressure than people watching you
I
trying
know.
to figure out. No pressure,
No
yeah.
pressure.
All eyes on
drumming.
Corey.
I'll drum my fingers. Just add a little drama.
I don't think I can do it this way.
Perhaps would you mime it, just mime the presentation?
It's down here. Mhm. It's fine. You know what?
Sure.
I'll email it to all of you. But anyway, Claire Vu
It's very unhelpful.
was at the Lucas Oil Stadium at the National FFA Convention with 67,000 people. And they called out her project. They said, you know, Claire from Little Stevens Point, Wisconsin, she had no idea that this was going to happen. So her FFA project, where she grew a radish, a kale, and a green bean, and tried to emulate that with soil from the space station. And she won this national award. She took fourth, I think, a couple other years, but this one she actually won. Her aspirations are to be an astronaut. So she's a really, really, really special student with a lot of high, lofty goals ahead of her. And it was really cool for them to call out her project and then for her
That's
to
very
win.
cool.
So
So awesome.
I will send that video clip to all of you. It's pretty cool.
What year is she in?
She's a senior.
She is
and
a senior.
She already has been offered some pretty lofty scholarships, but she has not heard back from her number one school choice yet. So she's waiting to still get some
Okay.
information.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing.
And when I was at they had a social for her at SPASH, I learned that her grandpa was an ag teacher in this district for 25 years after serving in the military. Her grandmother worked in the North Office as a secretary, and actually her mom works in the district right now. So, pretty cool story. And if you've ever had an opportunity to attend a national FFA convention or even the state convention, it's a really cool leadership opportunity. It's very, very neat. So, I will share that clip because it's pretty special. Moving on, we had a student, Michael Fries, win the Heisman High School Scholarship School Winner Award, and that is a Scholar Athlete Award. So that's pretty cool. Our boys won the state cross country championship for the 12th time, which was amazing.
Wow.
Girls swim are conference champs, and they had several girls swimming last weekend at the state swim meet. So we had a pretty good representation from our swim team there. We have 2 local businesses that have donated funds back to the district. First State Bank had people that opened up new accounts. I think over a month's period of time were able to pick a school that they would like to donate money to. So we received a big check from them. And they presented that to us at Plover Whiting. And then Cooper Oil has donated $17,914 back to our schools. They do this on a yearly basis, and we're very thankful for the money that they give back to us for students. Last week was our United Way kickoff campaign. We had a lot of fun activities here at Bliss. We had some basket raffles, a penny war, did a staff luncheon, so that was a pretty neat event last week, and Becky Johnson, our receptionist, organized that. And then our board has been doing tours of some businesses. We toured Martin Machining on October 27th, and then today we toured AECom and then Simplicity Credit Union. And those 3 businesses, along with some others that are coming up, take on a lot of our youth apprenticeship students. So very thankful that those businesses take our students to offer those hands-on practical experiences. And then many of those students end up staying on with them as employees. So it's really a win-win for students and a win for the local business. So thanks to board members that have been taking part in those tours.
Board members have any questions or comments from Corey's report? I guess I'll just note to the community that Cooper Royal has done this for years for us, and the community has the opportunity to help because there are gas stations throughout the community that say, I think it's Fuel Our Schools, and they set aside usually one pump, one on each side. And so if you're looking to buy some gas in town, which we all do regularly, we encourage you to fuel up at those pumps, and it comes back to us and to our schools. So thank you to Cooper Royal for continuing to do that for us. We'll move into item 6, the consent agenda. And on the agenda tonight is the minutes of our school board meeting of October 10th, 2022, the minutes of our public hearing for the 2022-23 budget that occurred on October 24th, 2022, the minutes of the special school board meeting that occurred directly after that public hearing on October 24th, 2022, the approval of the schedule of monthly bills, and employment recommendations. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Jen and a second by Chris. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, I will have Carlin call the roll due to the scheduled monthly bills.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Mr. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Portson?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Bushman?
Yes.
Mr. Robbie?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes,
And motion carries.
thank you. So we'll move into item 7, which is business services, and I will turn that over to Dennis Robbie, who is the acting chair for that meeting.
Thank you, Meg. First of all, it was a lot of fun. For all those who missed it, I hope you don't miss the next business meeting on December 5th, where presents will be given. So, the first item that we had was the approval of the 2023 budget calendar guideline. And I believe Tom Owens would tell you this is pretty boilerplate. It's a process that under Tom, the district has used for ongoing years now. And nothing is surprising. There's in any given budget for schools, there are certain things that have to be there. Tom is has assured us that they are there, and that the board will be kept abreast of the budget calendar development and have input as appropriate. Dr. Owens, is there anything you'd like to add, Dr. Owens? No. Thank you.
Do board members have any questions? If not, then I would look for a motion to approve that budget calendar guideline as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion or questions? So it is a motion by Judy and a second by Barb. All right, hearing none, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries.
See, Dr. Owens provided us with the per pupil department allocations for the 2023-24 budget, which are proposed. Again, the allocations were basically stable, and that's a real credit to the administration, to the teachers, to the board building principals, because it's been a number of years now where the allocation has remained pretty much firm. There were some questions. I had a question regarding the school board allocation, and I received good information in terms of what that comprised of. The biggest cost for the school board allocation of $208,000, about 60 plus of it was for legal fees that we have questions from time to time that we go to our legal advisor for. But otherwise, again, kudos to the administration, and to the teachers for keeping those numbers pretty stable. And I think it's really been helpful that the finance department and administration, if the school or given department did not spend all their money, they are not penalized for that. There was a time in the old days where if you spent all your money, then your base was developed based upon that for the following year, and you were punished for being somewhat fiscally conservative. That is no longer the case. So again, kudos to the administration for allowing that, and also for our staff who are doing their very best to be fiscally conservative during these times. Anything you'd like to add to that, Dr. Owens?
Do board members have any questions or comments?
I had 2 questions.
Go ahead, G.
In the first column under Table 1, the total third Friday count is 6,437, but I know we had over 7,100 students. What is the disparity?
That's fall 2021.
2022.
The
Fall.
first column is the fall of
Oh, I'm sorry.
21.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And also, these numbers do not contain 4K and some of the other things, so you can't look at the totals and compare it to the total of the other document. They're for different purposes. So
4K is not included.
4K is not in here, no.
Yeah, that's about 650 difference, but we don't have 650 4K students. Is this, like, some kids were absent when this was taken? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Not 600.
To answer your question fully, I'd have to, compare the two numbers and do a comparison and edit it. But these are the third Friday counts for the respective schools that we're showing here. It does not reflect the total district third Friday count because there may be district programs, 4K programs, and things like that, transfers in and out that are not included here.
So okay. The other question I had is pods and for the alternative school. You
Fernandez.
just figure a normal, you just give 150 and 80 because
Yeah, the
they are.
footnote indicated that because of their low population, their economy of scale, it can be very difficult to go for that school at a pure third Friday count. So that number for a few years has been set at 150 artificially, which was their target. If you look just below the table, you'll see the various footnotes there, and it says POD's third Friday count was actually 141,
yeah.
but the allocation for 23-24 is set at 150. And it's been that way for a couple of years now. And then Fernandez actual enrollment on third Friday in 23-24 was 67, I believe it is. My print is messed, I can't quite read it. But it was set at 80 for the allocation purposes, and it's been that way for a while. Fernandez is probably the most unique of all of these schools because the population fluctuates quite a bit. It might be this number on third Friday, but 2 weeks later it might be 10 kids more, and a week after that it might be a drop of another 5, so it goes up and goes down quite a bit. But for consistency, what I did for those two schools is set it at 80 and 150 respectively, so that there was continuity. If the population at PODS grows beyond 150, then they'll go with their actual third Friday count at that point. Does that address your question?
Yeah, and then the other question is, how is this money used? I mean, principals, it's not all discretionary, right? I mean, this goes to certain things at the schools.
Well, we do, the principals are the educational leaders of the buildings, and we expect them to use these funds to deliver the educational plan the way they see fit. So your use of the word discretionary, I would have to say yes, I would very much want it to be within their discretion of how they use the funds. We do not want to micromanage that, and the principals have been outstanding in how they've utilized these funds and worked with their staffs and have been very conservative in their approach towards this, been very effective in the board's wise use of of the plan to allow them to carry over funds that they don't use, has allowed them to do some longer term plan, a longer time planning, if I can say it that way, long-term planning, to where maybe they can look 3 or 4 years down the road and set money aside and then eventually get enough to do something that they wanted to accomplish and use for their curriculum. So it's been highly effective that way. So yes, they do have quite a bit of discretion in there. This does not contain anything like heat, light, and utilities and fixed costs. That's not included in this. This is just things that would involve for their supplies and equipment and material and things that they want to use to deliver the educational plan.
All right,
Does
thank
that
you.
address your
Yeah,
question?
thank
Okay.
you.
And G, just in terms of discretionary, a lot of the costs that are involved in the buildings are kind of ongoing, like you said, supplies, paper, those standard costs. So as far as funds that you can use for innovation, that probably is a lot less than what has been allocated. However, if you want a breakdown of any given building, or any board member has questions regarding any building, any department, and you want to know how those funds were utilized specifically, you can get that breakdown from administration and for insight.
Things like a paper budget is in there. Is it?
Absolutely, yeah. So really, when it comes down to it, after all those known things and your fees for that you have for paying certain subscriptions, whether it be digital or print, all those ongoing costs are a part of that budget.
Yeah, thank you.
Do board members have any other questions of Tom? So we're going to be looking for two separate motions. The first would be a motion to adopt the building per pupil allocation for $1,778,390 for the 23-24 budget.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Judy and a second by Jen. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Barb?
Where'd you get that number?
It's right at the front, under C, subject.
I know where that number, but on the table, it doesn't match.
It's the 23-24 school year.
It's the
This-
column to the right.
Column to the right.
Yeah, that
Second
doesn't
column,
match too. That doesn't match either.
Table 1.
Doesn't match.
Actually, Barb, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be so surprised about that. I mean,
So Tom, we got numbers that don't
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
connect.
yeah, it's off about
It should be,
Occupational hazards.
25,700.
I believe it should be the 1,752,144.
Yeah, that's what's in
I
the,
think
That's what
the motion was typed incorrectly, but let's let Tom explain
Yep.
that.
It's correct. in
Thanks,
board
Barb.
docs.
Got it right here.
I have it right here, yeah.
Yeah. Are they
Good
different
catch,
for
Barb.
Well, I'll go, the allocation for the building budgets is $1,752,144. That's at the bottom of the table
Right.
1, under 23-24 school year.
Yep.
And for the departments, that number is correct on
The 747,
the retyped
470
version as well as
118.
it agrees with the table, so.
okay, all
It's
right.
just the first one that appeared to have a little oops in it.
Motion was wrong.
Okay. So I'm asking, I guess, if
Send
if you guys would amend your motion to
Absolutely.
put in the number of 1,752,144.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or questions on those? Barb, thanks for
catch.
Yeah, good catch.
noting that. All right, hearing no questions, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. The second motion then will be a motion to adopt the department program allocation for $7,470,118.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Janice, second by Chris. Any discussion or questions on that motion?
Is the responsible administrator list up to date? I see Dwayne Banky, and I thought he retired.
Yeah, that should be changed.
Okay.
So we can note that change, just for an update on the table. Any other comments with respect to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. You're on to your student.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting dramatic pause here.
It was very dramatic.
Our finance manager, Michael Kurtz, did an excellent job of presenting the 2023-2024 student fee schedule. There weren't a lot of changes in those schedule. If you actually go through the fees, you'll notice that there are a significant number of fees, both for participating in extracurricular activities and for academic classes. One of the discussion areas that we had is we have families where it may be a financial burden to participate in either classes or extracurricular activities, and the administration indicated to us that there is a form that can be completed for exemptions to that, and we've also asked that our building principals and department heads and coaches make sure that students are aware of the fact that there are exemptions for those families that this creates a barrier for. Mr. Kurtz, anything you'd like to add to that?
I don't have anything to add unless there's questions.
Are there questions?
I think when you were talking about making sure families know about this, for some kids and families too, it would be, they may not want to say, hey, do you have forms where I
Right.
can get rid of the fees? And you don't necessarily know who they are. The principals might have a better idea, but, so just some way that, they can know this is available, and it could be different in each school, however principals want to do this, to make sure that it's overt, everybody knows about it,
Right,
and you don't have to come and ask.
right.
Okay?
Agreed.
Actually, and G, when you go on the website, under parent resources, under student fees, it's right there.
Yeah,
So it's one of the first things that
Yeah.
comes up.
yeah, and I'm sure principals in their offices and things like that would have it up and displayed, so people know about this.
We kind of asked this at the meeting. Could you perhaps touch base with our building principals at the various levels and just find out, how many, is this something that is being utilized pretty actively in terms of the exemptions, or is it pretty limited? And I think the more active it is, probably the more aware that people are of it, especially those people that need it. And if it's not being utilized, then maybe we're not promoting it and making being as open to some of our parents who need that information.
I think it's being utilized pretty actively. I know that the building principals are real flexible in the way they deal with this when they get these applications. They're always approved for free and reduced students, for example.
Okay, you said that right off the
Yeah.
bat.
Other
Okay.
hardship
That's key. Yeah.
cases, like I said, they're real flexible and want to work with the parents.
Are they approved for free and reduced without them asking for it? Is it automatic with the scholars who are free and reduced that that's an automatic exemption?
No.
No, they still have to fill out the form.
And there's gonna be families right on that cusp that don't
Right.
qualify for free and reduced that still may need help. And this is probably a Brian question, but I know these fees are put into Skyward. It'd be nice if there was an option to just submit or notify that they might need help, because it's a lot to put on the building principals too, to keep up with this. So I don't know if that's something we can ask Skyward. Is there something where the fees are, you can click to either email or ask questions regarding financial assistance?
Yep.
And I think there are a lot of teachers also who are aware, because they work with the parents and the families and that, and are aware. And I know at least, well, probably more than one, but I know that they've asked students, are you interested in this? And if they don't see that students are applying, they'll go forward with information, so.
So if we have a family that, student signs up for this information, and clearly circumstances can change with families. And so as the year goes on, if a family is realizing that they are struggling with respect to these fees, is it also an ongoing process? So that it's not like if you don't sign the waiver or submit the waiver up front right away, it's that families should be aware that if circumstances change throughout the year and the family is in need of some help and support, that they should be reaching out again to the principal and working through that process with us, I'm assuming.
Yes, they have that option at any time.
Yeah, another part of this too is I know in the sports area that there are some parents that will pay more to allow kids
That's nice
to
too.
compete. And
Nice.
and I'm wondering, in the classes, if kids are signing up for these classes, parents know they can throw in a little bit more if they know what the fee is, and maybe they'd be nice enough to just say, I'll give you more so some other kids can try it. That's the other thing too is, say a kid wants to go out for football, but they don't know if they want to keep it up. Do they have to pay the fee before they actually step into the locker room or can they try out and say, I just want to try? And
My understanding is they pay the fee up front.
okay.
It's in Skyward. I mean, and you are enrolled in the class or you start and you're just expected to pay. Yeah. It's not pay before you don't enter the classroom or the field.
Just one other thing,
Go ahead.
not with Michael. But
Board
I don't have-
members have any other questions of Mike?
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
just go ahead.
So, are there any other questions with respect to the 23-24 student fee schedule?
No, not regarding that, but Dennis, thanks for covering for me. At the committee meeting.
I'm here for you. You know that.
Yeah, I
He
always-
did a phenomenal job. We were all impressed. Surprised, but impressed.
All right, so I will be then looking for a motion to approve the 23-24 student fee schedule as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Jen and a second by Jeff. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries.
The only other thing that we talked about of note at the business services meeting was Dr. Owens gave an overview of the budget analysis format that he is going to, and administration will be utilizing to take a closer look at our revenues and expenditures as we approach this financial cliff in a year or two or whenever that may happen. And I know that Dr. Owens has spent a great amount of time already starting to look at data. He explained the process to us. I'm sure at some point in the near to mid future that he'll be presenting the model to the board as a whole and letting us know in terms of where we're at with the process. And I thank you, Dr. Owens, for initiating that process.
Board members have any other comments? The only other thing I note is the referendum, which there was a little short report on that, and we're like almost done. I mean, the building, the facilities projects are pretty much at their end. And the great news about that is, board members remember, initially we were budgeting that we might have to go into our reserves to the tune of about $2.8 million, because when we set the amount that we asked the communities to support, we set it at an amount that we felt that the community would be able to support us. And over the course of the projects, we earned that equivalent in interest, that about $2.8 million. And so we are looking at being able to successfully complete all of those projects. We're very fortunate that they were started prior to COVID, frankly, and that we were able to work with incredible interest rates and incredible bids almost through the entire project. So it looks like we're going to be able to complete that whole thing without having to dip into our district reserves. So All right, thanks, Dennis.
I was actually going to say all that, but I was, again, had a dramatic pause, and Meg jumped over it.
I thought you said one more thing.
Thank you.
All right, we will move into item 9, which is educational services, and I will turn it over to G. Pope as the chair of the committee.
Okay, the first thing we have, we discussed secondary course proposals. Chris is going to take that.
Sure. Thanks, G. So we have a total of 12 course proposals, and when I say course proposals, because that is the language on the form that all of you have in your pocket, or in your packets, sometimes that implies that we're proposing 12 new courses. That is not the case. These are just changes and or revisions. We classify them all as proposals here in the district. So our Director of Secondary Education, Jeff Milsna, and John Vollendorf, we're here to present that information to Ed Services Committee. So they are both present this evening. If there are any questions that you have specific to any of those 12 updates, changes, and or revisions.
And they are all cost neutral.
That's right.
That's what we like to hear.
So do board members have any questions with respect? All right, I'm seeing none, so I would be looking for a motion to approve the secondary course proposals as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Judy and a second by Dennis. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all of those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries.
Okay, and then the second thing we had was a presentation about summer school changes for this coming summer. And Chris, you have that also.
Sure. Thanks, G. So a couple of things that we had talked through. Jen Melville and Darla Panoski, who are our summer school co-coordinators, were available to provide a recap of summer school from this previous summer. So gave us updates on what enrollment looked like there. And also gave us some information on some changes for the schedule for summer school for 2023 to accommodate a large community event, the PGA Tour, which will be occurring at Century. They will need access and have arranged for access to both parking facilities and transportation over at Spash. This creates interruption to availability, obviously, in those facilities and parking resources. So we were creative in terms of creating a schedule that allowed and accommodated for that community event to occur. So rather than 2 3-week sessions of summer school, which is what we typically run, we will run 2 2-week sessions with a 2-week break in between. That's slightly different from what we've done in the past. So during that 2-week break in between, we recognize that families certainly rely on summer schools. Our summer school is an opportunity for childcare. So in an effort to accommodate that, we are currently working through organizing some of our academic as well as sporting camps so that we can provide that option and make them available during that 2-week break when Spash is not going to be available. So Darla and Jen have both been in contact with Boys and Girls Club and other community partners that are able to provide some of those camps that we typically offer during our normal 3-week summer school sessions that would happen during a typical year.
In previous years, those camps have happened after the regular summer school session, so now we're just going to put them in the middle so that we can accommodate for that event.
One other important piece to note that's slightly different from summer school that we've offered in the past is typically they've run for 4 days, so Monday through Thursday. Recognizing that we're shortening by just a bit. Each of the 2-week sessions will run for a full 5 days rather than just 4. So that's an important bit of information for families to be aware of as they begin to plan.
Can you remind me, did we notify parents already of these changes, or is that forthcoming?
It will, after approval tonight of these changes, then the communication will go to families.
Do board members have any questions at all about what's being proposed? The one thing that I thought was really intriguing, and, you know, I know we've made some changes from year to year with respect to summer school, just because of, something seems to change every year, whether it's no access to a pool or, you know,
Rewiring the
all the
building.
things we dealt with COVID or facilities that were under construction. But both Darla and Jen indicated, you know, we really do rely on our staff to provide the programming and to provide the exciting, creative programming that we're able to provide during the summer. And both of them are very interested to see if offering this opportunity for staff to be able to commit to 2 weeks at a time, or just a 2-week session, or maybe to partner with a partner to do a 2-week and a 2-week, it might actually be beneficial both for our staff and for our students in terms of what, you know, the range of what we might be able to offer. So I think that will be very interesting to see how, you know, this change, how families feel about the change, and also about how our staff is able to be responsive with respect to this change. So I'm sure that's something that you will be providing us an update on once the dust settles, you know, after summer school.
And regarding the feelings about the changes, I think we discussed that we would be soliciting feedback from families and maybe potentially students following these
Following
sessions.
both
Okay,
sessions,
perfect.
yep.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'd asked at the Ed Services meeting, transportation, those are our buses?
Mm-hmm.
And the cost on that goes to what, to them?
To
The
Century.
Century?
They are going to, there'll be an MOU between the district and Century, but they will utilize our buses, our drivers, and our parking spaces at SPASH. But we will have some sort of a financial kickback to the district once that MOU and agreement is agreed upon. They have also offered for our athletic teams and clubs at SPASH to have students work at the concessions, and then there will be a kickback to those groups as well.
That's nice.
So,
I
yep.
like that, that's creative.
Not the beer tent, though.
So we're,
No, we
so
talked about
Not
that.
that.
so we're actually helping them with their workforce also.
Oh, my goodness.
If
You're a golf hater, that's what you are.
No, I love golf. No, I love golf.
No,
but they're looking at our summer school program.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be a great thing for the community.
It's going to be just wonderful for
Hunky-dory.
Century.
So, any other questions or comments with respect to the summer learning program? So then I would be looking for a motion to approve the 2023 summer learning program as presented.
Second.
A motion by Dennis and a second by Judy. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. All right, we have our future meeting dates and times. We will have our the next meeting will be the December 12th, 22 regular school board meeting. So I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
Motion by Barb, second by Dennis. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? We're adjourned.
Less
Yeah,
than an
but-
hour.
Thank you.